Yo, K-Biz Guy here. Hey, so if you are new to the channel or have been on a hiatus, haven't watched me in a while, which is absolutely unacceptable, you may or may not know that I have sold my KEF R11s this past weekend for some new speakers that will hopefully be in a couple of weeks. I sold them to a friend of mine, a avid viewer of the channel, Mr. JP John Paul. We did a video together, and then he took those KEFs. What he replaced in his current home theater were the Deftex BP9040s. They're tower speakers that have a powered sub and two passive radiators in them. He replaced them with the KEF R11s because he said that they thought they would be a substantial upgrade. They have some of the best reviews. Some people rate them as a top 5 speaker of all time, yada yada. So he knew that I had some. He's heard mine many times, and I sold them to him. He sent me a text today that spawned this video. He is the reason why I'm making this video today. So he sent me a text and said, I'm not really that impressed with the new speakers. And I said, let me hear your reasoning. He said, I don't hear a whole lot of difference from the old ones. Maybe a little bit bigger of a sound if you're really trying to listen for it. I just thought that would sound much bigger. Something as big as the clips I've heard. I don't really care about the fine details. I don't really care about the clarity. I was fine with the clarity with my old ones. I just care about a big sound and make it sound like the entire wall is one big speaker. I don't really feel like that at all, but maybe acoustic treatment will make it sound like an entirely different thing. Just doesn't sound like $6,000 speakers to me. I looked it up and Google says they are hi-fi speakers meant for music. That's probably why. So this actually surprised me, and it made me think of something that I just kind of want to share with you. And of course, you guys are welcome to leave back some comments down below in the comment section. But what stuck out to me in his text was that he said he didn't care about clarity. He didn't care about details. He cared about the sound being big. If you're not familiar with the BP40s from Deftex, they are about $1,200 speakers for the pair, maybe $1,300, something in that ballpark. And they do have 8-inch subs built into them. And then they also have a passive radiator as well. They're not ported, so they rely on a passive radiator to kind of help with the lower bass in such a skinny tower. But Deftex is known for a big soundstage because they have speakers not only on the front, but also on the back. And then you also have subs inside the speaker. So they sound way bigger than what they are. They actually use very small drivers, but they use multiple of them to give you this huge soundstage. But it stuck out to me that he said that he didn't care about clarity and sound. And it made me realize that there are a lot of people out there that really don't care about that kind of thing or don't have an ear for it. So whenever you're on a forum or you're on a Facebook group or something, and you see somebody who has 10 speakers and they're like all up front or whatever, or they're badly placed, and they say, oh, I love it, I'm happy. There's a lot of people out there that don't care about how good something sounds. They just want it to be grand, which you can do with almost any speaker, right? As long as you have a big enough speaker and it can handle a good amount of volume, it images well, whatever, you can get a big wall of sound with a $40 speaker. He has $6,000 KEFs in his room and said they don't sound much better than his $1,200 definitive technologies. And I've learned that they do sound way better, but he's not used to hearing something that sounds as good as the KEFs do. The KEFs are not a bass-heavy speaker. They're very neutral, they're relaxed, they have a lot of fine detail, they have a really tall and wide soundstage, but they're not going to blow you out of the park necessarily like, say, a clip speaker, even Sir and Vega, things like that. They're not grand like that. They're neutral, so they play well with all types of music, but you can pump a movie through them and have a heck of a time with them as well. But KEF made those speakers for probably more of the audiophile than for the average consumer, and maybe that's why they're $6,000. Your average everyday Joe is not going to buy KEF R11s. And maybe that's his problem. He's only, I think he's 18, maybe 19 this year. So he hasn't heard a lot of system. He used to have a clip system. Then he went to Bowers & Wilkins bookshelf speakers, the 606 S2s, I think they were. And then he went to, I think, straight to definitive technology. So he's never really had a speaker this expensive. And it's a whole different sound. And I think he's so used to that sound, that something like this that's more relaxed and neutral, more balanced, sounds weird to him, to the point where he thinks it doesn't sound good. So one thing I did talk to him about, he didn't run calibration on his Denon 6700H. He didn't run it. It was still using the same calibration that he was using on his Definitive Technologies. He ran calibration and a lot of that sound came back. And now you're like, oh, okay, actually this sounds really good. Now he's watching movies and he's really liking it. So that goes to say you have to calibrate your system every time something changes, because your room reacts to speakers differently, and so does your receiver. So you have to recalibrate everything to fit the room and the speakers and so on. He also has acoustic treatment, but I saw some photos and I have to go help him put them in the right places because they're too high and some of them are in the wrong spot. So he's not really benefiting from his acoustic treatment. Once he gets those things right, that's when these kind of speakers come alive. So a KEF speaker like the R11s, they reveal bad songs and bad tracks and poorly recorded material. They also really shine with well-recorded material, things like that. So depending on what he's listening to and what he's watching things on, the KEFs may be exposing what he uses as his source as a weak point in his system. For example, I know he Bluetooths a lot. He also listens to YouTube music a lot. He does a lot of things that don't really support the highest res. And maybe his Denon 6700H and his KEF speakers are now showing him that, hey, you got to pump me some good information to get good information out. So I'll actually be going to his house soon to calibrate everything. He's getting a mini DSP, so I'm going to help set that up for him. He's thinking of getting a DSP for his speakers too. I'm going to help him put his acoustic treatment together, get his speakers towed in right, make sure they're not too far apart, whatever, and help him get this grand wall that he's looking for. But I just want to make this video because I thought it was very interesting that somebody doesn't care about how something sounds. They just care if it's big. And I kind of knew that about him. He likes bass. He loves bass and doesn't care if there's too much of it. The more of it, the better. He doesn't like when the bass is even with the rest of the sounds. He likes his subwoofers a little hot. I've learned that about him pretty quickly. And if they're not hot, then they don't sound good to him. And then he wants this big wall of sound, so he wants as much volume as he can get. I get that. I was there when I was 18, 19. That's all I cared about too, was how loud can this go? And loud equaled good, right? I'm 31 now, and now I realize that you can get loud and sound quality at the same time. And so I'm going to spend some time with him and really let him understand what the KEFs are all about. Because if you're comparing KEFs to some old clip speakers, we're in trouble. So he's young. I have been a friend of him for, I think, 3 years now. So I've watched him grow up. So it's fun. I don't know everything, and everybody has their own kind of taste. I'm not going to take away the taste that he likes. I'm going to help him achieve it, however that is. It's his home theater. I'm not going to go in there and say, no, this is wrong, do this, do this. I'm going to say, okay, JP, what are you trying to get? And let me help you get there. Whether I like it or not doesn't matter. It's all about him. But for him to think that the KEF R11s are not worth $6,000 compared to his $1,200 Definitive Technologies, we have some room issues, we have some seating issues, we may have some receiver setup issues, crossover issues, calibration issues. There's a lot of issues if you think that the KEFs don't sound good. So I want to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Am I completely wrong? Is he just young? Is he growing up? What do you guys think? Leave me that below in the comment section. Here in a couple of weeks, I'll be going down to his house to not only help him with everything, but I will be shooting a video with him down there so we can go through his room so you guys can see it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and we will see you in the next video. Tip this guy out. Peace.